Hey boys and girls, Ken Smith Fishing. So this week, now normally on Tuesday we do our spark drawing, but the folks at Spark don't have power, like a lot of us haven't had power off and on today. So I'm going to delay this week's drawing till Thursday just to make sure I get all the names of people who signed up with Spark last week. So I guess to some degree we got a little bit lucky. We were out of power last night for about an hour and a half or two, and then again this morning for a little while. The downside of what happened to us was it screwed up our HVAC system. So luckily we found somebody who could get out here today, and $500 later we have a heater, we have heat back on. We do have power for right now, which I'm very thankful for. I know a lot of you are across Texas. No telling when y'all will watch this. Well, unless you're watching on your phone. A lot of you don't have power, so fingers crossed for you. We lost power in Zavala today too, but hopefully everything's fine down there. But $500 later, we have heat here, and I suspect we'll get another brownout tonight, but we'll just have to go and see. So spark drawing on Thursday. Now, what I do have for you guys is a bunch of really, really interesting footage. Oh, by the way, quick Raven report. I get a sense these guys were telling me stories, but I heard there's a really good frog bite right on the edge of the ice in shallow water. I don't know that I actually believe that or not, but you know, it comes from a good source. They never lied to me that I knew about before. So anyway, I don't believe anybody's fishing right now. This is brutally cold. But what I did get to do last week, I had a video I wanted to do with Chris, who owns Classic Fiberglass up in Sanger. And the more Chris and I talked about it, the more ideas we came up with jointly for videos. And this one spun out of some comments about how I wash my boat and him laughing at me about that. So let me just share with you what we've got coming. So he told me something that he sees regularly tearing up the transoms out of older boats, and it's something we all do. So we're going to talk about that in a video in the next week or so. Boat cleaning. Things to do, things not to do, and they got a really neat little trick they do with the carpet we're going to talk about. What to look for before you buy a used bass boat, and he's got a service that blows my mind. What they do for somebody who's looking for a boat, and the price they charge for it. You guys are going to be blown away by this. And then a buddy of mine in Lufkin has a 06 Ranger, and I don't remember how they discovered this, but he's got something called blistering under the bunks on the bottom of the boat. And I asked Chris about that, and he said, oh yeah, that's a thing. So we're going to talk about blistering and maybe some ways to prevent blistering. If you don't know what it is, you're going to want to watch that video. And then just for grins, while I was there, he was fixing a boat, a hole that somebody had got on the rocks. And I thought it would be interesting to do that as well. And then I don't think I talked about it, but the other thing we talked about was if you go to a tournament somewhere and you knock a hole in your boat, you're on vacation or you're at a multiple day tournament or you're in practice for a tournament and you don't have the ability to get that boat fixed, there's a couple of ways you can fix a hole in your boat temporarily, but actually for quite a period of time. And as a matter of fact, he told me right now that if you called him today and said, I got a boat I need fixing, he's about 5 weeks from putting your boat in the building to work on it. I mean, he could look at it and get you the estimate, but they're about 5 or 6 weeks out. So there's a way you can fix that boat and still fish out of it, unless it's, you know, you knock the whole bottom out of it. Or, man, I don't know if y'all saw this. If I've got this picture, I'm going to dump it in here, but that was on Facebook yesterday. Some guys got lucky and didn't get hurt. The back end fell out of that Ranger, but I don't know the whole story on that, but that was kind of scary looking. But anyway, so a way to fix a boat and still continue to fish out of it. So that's the stuff we've got for you over the next week or two. And I'm telling you, as I did it, I learned so much, and I figured what I have experienced is you guys like the videos where I'm learning because you have the same questions I do. Now, this video we're going to do today, I was trying to think through what we could do while we can't fish, right? I mean, most of us aren't going to be able to fish for sure for the rest of this week and maybe even into the weekend. It's going to be really ugly. Now, by the way, there is a Bass Champs tournament on Amstead this week. There's $2,000 this Saturday for the South Division for the top 10 highest finishing Spark customer. The Beyondies won that first $2,000. There's another $2,000 this week. If nobody wins, they'll roll the next one. And then the first North Division is the following weekend. Terry Hawkins and I will be fishing it over on Lake Fork. We're hoping to get to go practice this weekend, but who knows if we will or not. But I see guys going down the lake all the time with their power poles wiggling. And so I had asked Chris, was that just a bolt tightening? And it's not. So we're going to talk today about maintenance you need to do on your power poles, something that you need to do every 100 or so cycles, how to fix your power poles if you can't get the wobble out of them, what he does when he trailers with his power poles, and also how to reprogram a power pole remote. So this was all, I thought, really good footage. I hope you guys enjoy it as well. So let's jump to the footage. This will be the first of, I'm going to say 5 or 6 videos with Chris over the next 3 or 4 weeks will get posted. Let's check it out. All right, so one of the things I want to talk with Chris about, so you're an authorized power pole dealer.
Dealer and warranty center.
And warranty center, which is not a ton of those, right?
No, as far as Dallas-Fort Worth, I know Diamond Sports is. I don't think anybody else is. So we're pretty few and far between. They fly us to Florida and take their class, and so there's just a few of us. There's a bunch down on the coast, you know, but up in Dallas-Fort Worth, there's just a couple.
So it's basically built on a bushing system, right?
That's right. So it's a hydraulic ram, basically with a bunch of pivot points. And the pivot points are, with everything else, are going to wear out quicker, especially when, you're sticking those things down and, you got 2-foot waves pushing you around, and then things are just, you look back there and those things are all tweaking back and forth. And of course, the weakest link to me on power poles is their bushing system, and they've corrected that with the new brackets that are on the 10s and the 8s now. So hopefully, I haven't dealt a whole lot with those new brackets, but hopefully that corrected some of the bushing issues.
But what we do know is there's certain maintenance you need to do. And I also ask you, so when you go down the road, you either have a cover or a strap on your power poles, because again, the problem with them is shaking.
In my opinion, yes, shaking going down the road more so than going across the lake.
Well, look, I'm going to drive 6 hours somewhere where I might only fish for, drive the boat for an hour or two.
That's right. So, and that vibration on the road is a lot of the cause, because you look back in your mirror and you'll see the tops of them just bouncing back and forth, and of course, that's got to give some wear and tear on them. But just like anything, it's an easy fix, and a lot of times within 2 or 3 years, Power Pole will pay you to send you a new bushing kit and you put them on. I mean, if, most people can sit down, and it probably takes 30 minutes each side to put the bushing kit in, and it's not real hard. And they give you, their directions are really good in their little manual that comes with it. So
show me where those go.
Okay, so these, every bolt has a brass and a Teflon bushing in it, and these two are mainly your problem childs. Those are the ones that always wear out first, and like this one isn't tight enough. So once you buy the power poles, if you read all the way through it, this is part of the maintenance that nobody ever does. I don't even do them on mine, but is to keep these torqued to a specific spec, and I don't know what that is off the top of my head, but and they like to tell you to keep a thread and a half outside the bolt, where that's maybe a half a thread and that one's half a thread. You got to be careful. If you get them too tight, once it gets down, it gets in a bind. You have a hard time getting it back up. Sometimes you have to reach in the water and grab them and pull them back up. But you can see all of these. You got 5 of them that have to be changed on there. These 2 are the biggest ones, that need to be. And you can tell by this, just the wobble of it. These are ready to be changed, and they get a lot worse than that if you take it too long. Those brass bushings, they waller out that hole, and you'll have to get new channels for it.
Oh,
so,
okay. So this is just routine maintenance we should all be doing.
Absolutely, and most people don't. I mean, I don't have any. We could probably walk around to every boat that I got in here and do them, and they're like that.
Right.
With the exception of maybe a brand new boat.
Now, some of this you could snug those back down, right?
Yeah, absolutely, make it a lot better than what it is right now, but ultimately it's going to need a bushing kit, just because that brass is, soft, and that brass expands, every time it moves back and forth.
So Chris, do you know about what that bushing kit costs?
Right around the $49 range in that area.
And we talked about it. So what do you put on yours when you go down the road? Do you put a cover or strap?
I put both. So I've
Do you
got
really?
so the cover from Power Pole is an option. It's a neoprene cover. I use one from a different company, but and then I also put a strap around it, and that keeps it tight. At least from doing this.
Right.
You know, it'll still do this side to side, but it's not going to do this if it's got the cover and the strap on it, and that, in my opinion, helps it a lot.
Now, aren't there some of these you really don't ever tighten, or is it all of them need to be tightened on occasion?
Uh, I think it says all of them in the manual to do, but these two down here are your most important ones, because those almost always are the ones that are wore out the most when you take them apart.
Well,
these over here hardly ever get worn out.
And so I have found you'll vibrate actually the pole bracket, or if it attaches to the boat or the jack plate, those will also rattle this, right?
Yeah, on occasion, but most of the time, if they're installed right, they don't.
Really?
We don't see a whole lot of that.
Then I had one that wasn't installed right somewhere along the line.
Right.
But I mean, it just makes sense to kind of go around it, give it a shake. Obviously, he could tighten that up a bunch, make sure those are tight, make sure those are tight, so nothing comes falling off.
Right. So, and this is early Power Pole Sea Monster 1 stuff. It's still got the two hydraulic hoses here that are attached here with a ferrule fitting to the pumps. They've since changed that. Now you got Sea Monster 2. Their hoses are different. Everybody was having the problems that if the ferrule fittings didn't get installed right, you'd be going down the lake, you put your poles down, a hose would blow off. Of course, it's making a mess. It's shooting hydraulic fluid everywhere inside there, and that was one of their biggest problems too. Everybody complained about those hoses breaking. Well, they fixed that, so now they crimp their own hoses and everything. So of course your hole's got to be a little bigger. You've got to have a 3/4 inch hole drilled in 4 times for if you have dual poles 4 times in the boat, or have something for those that go through. But that fixed that problem because they crimp their own hoses, and it's more like a hose that's on a hydraulic steering now than what it is on these. So so that fixed that problem, and then later, just early last year, they come out with the new brackets that are going to.
And when he's just saying brackets, he's actually talking about this bit right here.
It's called a stern bracket. That's they corrected that. It's a new bracket that's supposed to help, but I mean, I'm guessing it does. We're a little early in the game to tell what the longevity of it is. But.
All right, so I wanted to see if I could bust him. Chris has got his boat parked here. Dude.
Told you, I don't do the maintenance either. I mentioned that. Mine was worse than the boat that was in there.
It was way worse. That's terrible. Oh, we're going to get a wrench and we're going to tighten that up before we leave.
Yeah, so that is actually, Cole's been on this boat about 1.5 years.
And you don't drive very far.
No, I don't. I mean, occasionally I got tournaments at Fork and, on the Bass Champ stuff that you go to, but, I mean, never has it been far, out of, any further than Fork. I guess it's probably about the furthest I go.
I can say I've never seen a green jack plate before.
Well, now you have. Let me tell you, that was a pain in the butt disassembling so I could have it powder coated green.
Oh, you did that yourself?
I did, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we pulled it. I was silver, standard silver for Atlas, but yeah, we pulled that thing all apart when I first got it, and so I got a powder coater right up the road and had him powder coat it. I've seen an orange one. Oh, Zach Birch had an orange one on his boat at one time.
That's crazy. That's a guy wanting his stuff to match it. All right, so this is something that I know there's several videos out there that do this, but I thought since we're doing YouTube stuff, let's just show how to reprogram a remote too. So I'll turn it over to Chris.
Okay, so you got a couple steps to do it, especially if you've got dual poles. And the way to do it, so you hold each one and you want to tell which one is port and which one's starboard. So if you look on the little blue thing, these are Sea Monster 1 pumps, so it's going to be a little different on Sea Monster 2, but the up button has an S on it for starboard and the down has a P up here for port. So obviously you want to put them in the right direction, and it really doesn't matter as far as the way they use, because the only thing really you tell a difference on is if you want one pole to go down at one time versus the other, and hardly anybody does that. But to set that, you hold it down. You're going to have your first beeps are for the program. You hold it down, keep holding it down until it beeps again, and then you tell it starboard side, and that one red light's going to go again. So this one here, you want to do the same thing. So let's hold it down again. Okay, so now they're both programmed for port and starboard. So what you're going to want to do, so you got to program each pump to every one of your remotes. So most people have a remote like this. I put this on the console most of the times, and then you'll have a neck lanyard one, a little white one, and then a lot of people put the stop buttons up front, the foot switches up front. So that's going to be, the foot switches up front is two separate remotes, one for each up and one for down. So that's got to be done also. So to do that, so you program it, put the program button again until the green light comes on, and just press one of the buttons. It doesn't matter up or down, one of the buttons in it, and it's programmed. So you're going to have to come back and do the same for this one. And then now they're done, and now they'll.
Way easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's a piece of cake. And again, the directions in the manual, it tells you that. It's, I'd say most of the time you can do it, 10, 15 seconds. Of course, the more remotes you have. So every remote, every pole you get comes with one like this and a neck lanyard. So with two poles, you should have 4 remotes. The foot switches are separate, so you could add those on. So it's a possibility you could do this 6 times if you had foot switches to be able to get all the remotes synced together. And so, and like I say, the remotes, this particular remote's the only one that's adjustable. So you can push that button, and that basically tells only one side to go down. Which I haven't figured a reason why I would ever do that, but
I touched the speed button quite a bit and screw those up.
Yeah. And then so when both of them go, of course, both of them go down. And then the speed button, I mean, I want mine to go down as fast as possible. Yep. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe if you got a giant on a bed or something and you want to be stealthy or something, you can do that. But
so show that so guys will show. So the top one, the green button, is the speed button.
Speed, and in the way where it'll give you some lights here. So now that's slow, medium.
So
fast.
Put it back on slow. Hit the down button. So there you go. That slowed him way down. Now he's going to put it back on fast, and watch how fast they'll come back up. Here comes fast. Significant difference. And so the guy who actually, on a lot of the tours, Power Pole will send a trailer, and the guy who fixes them, I want to say his name's Happy. I think that's right. Super guy. And he actually has some little boxes, and he gave me a little box to put mine in because I carried a spare in my glove box. Right. And he said the last thing you want is going down the road, something shifting around and getting on top of that and pushing those poles down going down the road. So if you have a spare one in your boat or your truck, put it in something that the buttons can't get mushed so you don't lower it going down the road.
And also every pair that we install an on-off switch. So my recommendation is, if you think about it, when you're killing your graphs or whatever, just hit that on-off switch. That'll save that from happening too. Only way they'll go down at that point is if a hose breaks or something like that.
Well, and so another good point, a lot of people wire power poles where even if you turn your power off, your power poles are still powered, right?
Yeah, and that's, again, that's they do have a certain amount of drain. Now, when they first came out, that was a big deal because that's searching for a Bluetooth. So these are old ones, but you can Android. If you got an Android phone, you can tie into those with the Sea Monster app. The new ones are Android or Apple. But you can go in there and set a sleep mode on these. Even these older ones, you can set the sleep mode to go down to an hour. If it sees an inactivity for an hour, it'll put them to sleep. And what's running down the battery is it's searching for the Bluetooth signal. So it kills that portion of it. So if you come back and look, it's not going to have any lights blinking on, but it's got a motion sensor on that board that if you bump into it, that the light will come on and you can hear, the deedle-dee, thing that tells you that they're powered up. and I set those typically to an hour when I'm doing installs on a deal, just so people don't get in and if they leave the power on and a week later come back the batteries are dead. And I don't think it'd quite be a week. It'd probably be 2 weeks before it drains your battery completely. But there are settings that they've fixed to do that, and with all the new poles, you can do it with your iPhone, and with the old poles, you can do it with an Apple if you had it.
But the point is, if you've got any boat, just shut all your power off when you're charging and look back there. And if you've got a blinking light, there's still power.
That's right. So we normally just do a toggle switch, a 30 amp toggle switch on it, and just run the powers to it, and you just turn that toggle switch off every time. Most of them, most of the boats now got a master power on off switch, but typically that master power doesn't control the tilt trim, so that you can still lower your motor. But so you got to figure out where to hook to that you're not going to have power on it.
Okay, so later this week we're either going to get to the how to fix your boat temporarily, or we're going to talk about, well, I don't know. We're going to do another one of these videos later this week because I know we're not going to get any fishing done. I talked to Mike about the ballistic. He's really uncomfortable running the ballistic across a sheet of ice, so I don't blame him. So we're not going to get the ballistic or the nitro done this week. The nitro's coming as well. But we're going to get those boats finished up, and we're still going to get the Vexus review finished up as well. So thanks for tuning in. By the way, if you've not checked it out, I'm starting to post pretty regular to Instagram, Ken Smith Fishing 2.0, and also doing a little bit on TikTok as well. So if you get a chance, check those out. There's links below to both of those. And I appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you again on Thursday with the next video. Thanks.